Is me going estranged or no contact with my mother the right choice? I'll start off by saying this will be a bit of a long one since it does require some backstory to get and some other things. I'll post some warnings before I start. My question/situation will be talking about mental health, manipulation, family, and such, so there's your warning. So, I have a situation with my mother that I think might end up with having to cut ties with her for now, but I'm not entirely sure, so I wanted some unbiased opinions. For background, every one of my siblings that share the same mother, my mother had remarried, so I have two half-siblings, same mother, different father. We all have mental illness/disorders that all happen to be genetic. I have been tested and have official diagnosis of some of them. My sister 40SF has done a lot of really messed up things to not only to our mother but to her own children, and me on occasion. I am of the mind, she is completely unhinged due to a traumatic experience that caused her to go to jail, and one of her children ended up no longer alive. Since then, my sister has been terribly selfish and done little to improve her or her remaining children's lives. From stealing money and prized jewelry from our other to attempting to steal our mother's house out from under her, unsuccessfully, but this wasn't without nearly kicking our mother out of her fully paid off house in some sense of it belonging to her. Also, my personal favorite, shaming one of her twin girls for having her first period. You heard that right. My sister in her 40s shamed a preteen girl for not knowing how to handle the first time she had her cycle. This is just to get across my sister, to me, is a monster, and nothing she could do at this point would change my mind, as this has been happening over decades, nearly 20 plus years. This isn't everything she's done. Not even close. The background. For a few months, things have been tense with my mother ever since I started taking my mental health seriously. I was not well. I was, in the past, a terrible person and friend. Due to my own choices, mental state, and undiagnosed issues, I was incredibly defensive and angry, not to mention a shitty friend. Thankfully, since the end of last year, 2023, I have turned my life around with a violent fervor. After experiencing an abusive relationship, I realized I didn't want to be that person and made some strides in my life. The issue is the one with my mother. I typically would do a lot for my mother. I would visit her nearly every day after I got off work. I would call her when I got off work, and I would stay at her house talking the nights away until it was long past me being up for the next shift. We would go out all the time and all that gushy, family stuff. But lately, I've been trying to clear up old wounds between us and reach conclusions about even recent issues. It's going south, weirdly south. The latest frictions were: she co-signed onto a house with me after making the purchase process a brutally painful experience by complaining with every piece of paperwork I needed. I nearly quit several times out of frustration, as I would ask for a bank statement and it would erupt into an argument. I asked her multiple times if she didn't want to do this, but she said she did, and the cycle continued until the house was finalized. This is relevant soon. We typically hold Thanksgiving at different times. I have been holding it at my house for the last 2+ years around 4 to 5 p.m., 4:35, somewhere in there. My sister 40SF and mother would always complain and demand we hold it earlier, around 12:30 p.m. or 1 p.m., which is far too early for me, as I usually work the day before and have no time to cook until late that night. I do not like my sister at all. The first situation. My mom has continuously, since I've gotten the house, whenever I ask her for help or advice, simply tells me to sell the house. Or she will visit my house, seem to have a good time, and then send me a flurry of messages about how disgusting my house is. My mom is a neat freak and cleans her house up and down, and that I'm destroying the value of the house. I have confronted her about this, and she mentions the above, saying she has full reign to judge how I keep home since her name is on the title/deed. This got heated when I asked her for help for paying the mortgage once or twice, and without her help, I ended up being late, though I finished paying the remainder the beginning of the following month. This hit her credit, and she sent me another flurry of text messages about how she regretting signing onto the house with me, how her friends told her not to do it, etc. She went on saying she had faith in me that would manage. Mostly, it was her being upset, which I understand, but also being intensely hurtful in other ways. She wanted to take over the house finances, but I put a firm stop to that. I told her point blank that she hadn't been interested helping me over the 2 years I had the house, and I wasn't going to let her take over now, because she was upset it was affecting her finances. Which was easy enough. She didn't keep any of the paperwork, I did. She eventually gave up trying to get the information, but when I sat down with her recently, she pretended like the situation never happened. She refused to even discuss it, saying it was in the past and she was over it, even though I told her I wasn't and wanted to talk it over. That died in the water and she stonewalled me essentially. Second situation. I called my mother a few weeks ago to discuss Thanksgiving plans when she puts me on a three-way call with my sister, with my begrudging consent, to talk details. They immediately let me know they have invited family from a city away to come visit for Thanksgiving. I asked them if they'd let the family know that Thanksgiving is in the evening and they both scoffed at me, saying no one wanted to go to a Thanksgiving that late, as if they hadn't been coming to mine around that time. They attempted to convince me to hold it earlier and I said no, as I did every year they brought this up. Instead, they plan on holding two separate Thanksgivings. One for family in the morning, and then mine. It hurt. It hurt a lot that they hated the time I did Thanksgiving so much they'd rather have a separate one. They did not want to compromise. It was earlier than 1 p.m. or nothing. They even screamed at me, or my sister mostly, when I asked if they would be bringing food, but they acted as if I had threatened to skin a cat. They yelled at me why would they expect family to bring food, but I asked them we brought food to mine and my sister didn't have an answer. I ended the call soon after. No apologies from either of them and the two Thanksgivings is still going on. Third situation. This is the one that made me finally cut off my sister. After my mother had paid for both myself and my sister to see Hamilton, we had dinner at a restaurant. My sister, unprompted, began to go on this tirade about how LGBT+ people shouldn't be in Africa and should leave. I jokingly asked her if she thought colonists had imported the gay and she wasn't amused. She argued that some things shouldn't change and I told her what if slavery had never changed. We are a family of black people, with some significant roots in Africa. I have a girlfriend, I am a female. My sister knew and said hurtful, hateful things while our mother just pretended to not be there. We nearly got into a physical fight in this restaurant, but we managed to survive, though I wanted to skin my sister alive for her vile opinions, that I wished deeply she would have kept to herself. After all of these situations, this year, and only a week or two apart from each other, I decided to sit with my mother to talk about these things and figure out what was causing all of this animosity. We had been fighting nearly every conversation and my mother nearly cut all contact with me. She had not messaged, called, visited or made any effort to come see me. This includes when I've recently gotten my first professional job where I am salaried with benefits. I told her excitedly, via text when I couldn't reach her via phone, and I got a simple congratulations via text. This hurt. She knew I'd spent years of my life to get to this point and it felt like an empty celebration message. When I spoke with her, she insisted she had called me and even told me that we should go do something to celebrate. But, she was wrong. I had called her, 2 weeks after my text message, when she was in Arizona in a restaurant with one of her friends, ordering food. She didn't congratulate me, or say anything about going out to celebrate. Maybe she had, but it was lost in the noise. As soon as I caught her in this, she declared I was stressing her out too much and that I needed to learn to let things go. This only intensified when I tried to tell her why I was cutting off my sister. I told her about the hurtful things said at the dinner, the fact I didn't like all the terrible things she'd done to our mother, and the things she'd done to her own children. My mother scoffed and told me not to fight her battles for her or to stop being mean and hateful and to let go, as though this was some simple thing my sister had done once. No. My sister wasn't the one who listening to my mom crying on the phone that my sister 40SF again wasn't feeding her kids. Or that she needed money while she was in Africa, while she left her kids without food while she went to go swing on some strange guy's dick in another country. I told her my sister needed to atone and be truly sorry for what she did, while my mother looked at me as though I was crazy. As though I was being unreasonable. It dawned on me in those moments that maybe my sister was getting cozy in my mother's ear while I was absent. I had to pull back due to career and school, but my sister was notably more in her life. Pictures of them going to events, my mom buying stuff for her kids, etc. My mom blew me off again, telling me I was holding onto too much stress and simply needed to not let these things bother me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing and knew I wouldn't get anywhere with her. Even after pleading with her that she was my only family that I'd ever know, my siblings were not in my life much and kind of came in / out as they pleased. I told my mom that I cared for her and what had caused her so much pain, along with the wish that my sister would show some remorse for half of the things she'd done. My mom told me some about family letting family get away with murder, but I told her family should be the first line to protect you, not hurt you. Our conversation was pretty much over then. It's been a few days, maybe a week since, and I don't know what to think of it. Again, since I'm not reaching out, she hasn't said anything to me or bothered to. It breaks my heart. I love her so much, but suddenly, since I've gotten better, we've been nothing but butting heads. I almost wish I'd never gotten help, at least I'd still have my mother. Has anyone else gone through this? Anyone else have a parent or parents that have seemingly turned or switched as soon as you improved? I would love any similar experiences or any advice. It would help leagues. Thanks for reading, guys. I know it was a long one, but it's been on my mind and I trimmed it as much as I could so you wouldn't get every detail of my life, haha. Next story 2. I went no contact with my mom. 3 months ago, I had a big argument with my mom. Also present at the argument was my husband Tim, and stepdad. For a bit of background, following an argument with one of my brothers, details of argument aren't relevant, I had revealed to my younger brothers that I felt parentified as a child, being the oldest of us 3, and looking after them whilst my mum was at work. I did cooking, cleaning, etc., as parents surpitated. They had then told my mum this, resulting in this argument. Mum told me I was wrong in my memories, and actually I had a fantastic childhood, and was only required to do a normal amount of chores. I explained that she was a good mum, to the best of her ability, but with her working full-time, with 2 young disabled children, and me naturally being independent and smart, meant I felt like I was parentified / in a glass child situation. She denied this completely, told me I was imagining things, and that I shouldn't be saying she was a bad parent. I denied that I was saying this, and she said she didn't want to talk about that anymore. She then moved on to a recent family holiday held 3 years ago. The holiday was mum, stepdad, me, Tim, younger brothers plus step-siblings. She had a miscarriage a few days before the holiday, and told me and Tim, but didn't want to tell the siblings. Tim was going through some very rough work issues, whistleblowing, court case, etc., and so I was concentrating on supporting him during the holiday. This meant I went for a walk with him one evening, as we didn't want to watch the football. I had a drink another evening, but Tim didn't in case mum needed to be taken to the hospital for whatever reason. Stepdad also repeatedly went out for runs. According to my mum in this argument, I was very selfish, and should have put her needs over Tim's. I said, isn't that what stepdad should be there for? It was his baby too. She said no, and that she used to rely on me and now can't since I got married. She refused to talk to my husband, putting her hand up on him, and calling Tim him and he. They also rolled their eyes and dismissed Tim's situation after I explained my husband is my priority and he was going through difficult times too. It was a hard time for all of us, and we were there to the best of our ability. Anyway, I could add more details, but that summarizes the argument. Since then, I asked for space, reminding my mum that I love her. This isn't about blame, but about me taking time to figure out what I want. I haven't spoken to my mum in months. With Christmas coming up soon, I feel like I should talk to her, but I don't think I can forgive her for what she said to me and Tim. I therefore want to skip the big family Christmas this year, usually 12 plus people, and focus on my family. I also think I might want to go no contact with her, but am not sure if I'm overreacting. Tim thinks this is a clear-cut no contact situation, as this is just the tip of the iceberg with drama from mum.